One of the simplest joys that I have in the mornings is to look at my dolls, those that needed new clothes, and I look at them, review what I need to do with them, and in this case, this is son Joel Teresa. She needs new clothes. So what I have done here was transfer an old pattern that I have on a classic body Barbie. I'm using only plain typing or copy paper. On white paper is what I keep all the time for computer printing or for uses such as this one. I don't use any special instruments, just a plain old number 2 pencil will do. And also a transparent ruler that has grids on them, because it is very easy to look at where I need to be when I put my seam allowances. So here I'm sketching the seam allowances so that I could follow through, and here is the transparent ruler that I use. And I'm putting the seam allowances here. I like to mark my fold lines. In that way I don't mess up where I should be cutting. I also like to mark my patterns so I know what section these are. I also like to follow up my pencil lines with a ballpoint ink pen. In that way, should the lines be erased, I'll still be able to follow the lines. And in this case, I'm repeating the cutting lines. In that way, when I cut, I can see where I'm going. And also here, I've remarked the sewing lines. It is just a guide for this pattern. You don't have to be that precise in the marking lines. I cut the patterns in sections. In that way it is much easier to handle. And I do try to follow as straight as I could to the lines that I have marked before. If you notice here, I like to cut through my dart lines, and that is because I like to mark my fabric when I go through these dart lines. As you can see here, I'm cutting through the dart line. This is for marking purposes. And I put that one aside and I begin the back section of my pattern. As you can see here in my old pattern, I have marked this one. It says Classic Barbie because there are different body sizes. This one is the Classic Ponytail 1966 Classic Barbie body. I'm marking the cutting lines in here again. And marking my sewing lines. And in here I am now marking the sewing lines as well, and that's the center of the back. And I also like to mark my pieces. And here I'm marking the center of the back. And then the overlap section. And the direction of the grain. Then I again proceed to ink these lines so that when I'm cutting the pattern I could see clearly where I should make my cuts. It's always good to remember that you have two sets of scissors. One scissor is used solely for cutting paper, and the other you use solely for cutting fabric. The reason for this is that the scissors that are cutting the paper will easily get dull. So you want to keep your scissors very sharp, so you want that separate. I'm making another pattern for the skirt here. This one is for a long version, so I'm going to measure a shorter one because I want to make a shorter skirt for this doll. So here I'm marking 4 inches, that includes the hem. I'm transferring the pattern, but for a shorter version. Now I have an option to cut this pattern on the fold, cutting 2 sections for front and the back, or to cut a long extension, and that means that I would use 4 times the length of this pattern, and I will indicate this by writing onto the pattern. And here I'm marking the fold of the 2-piece section, and here I will make my notes right into the pattern that I could extend it 4 times the length if I want to. Here I'm transferring the sewing lines again. The cutting lines is to the outside and the sewing lines are to the inside. And marking what section of the pattern this is and what version as well.